There, and we're going to stay in Gaza itself and talk more about the ceasefire deal because Rana Baker is a resident of Gaza City and she joins me now live via Skype. But Rana, what does this personally mean for you that a ceasefire is now in force?
Let me first of all point out that despite the ceasefire, the Israeli drones are still buzzing overhead at the moment. But I do agree that the ceasefire is a victory for the Palestinian people, not only for Gazans, because a ceasefire means that Israel was forced into making a deal with the party that it continues to regard as a terrorist party. Israel said that there is no way to make peace with Hamas because it is a terrorist party. And suddenly it was forced into making a deal with Hamas, the very party that is regarded not only by Israel as a terrorist party, but by the UN, by the United States and the Quartet as well. So we think that it is a victory, a political victory, because of this. But of course, in terms of the number of people killed, in terms of the bombardment, the infrastructure that got completely destroyed, we think that we really lost a lot in these terms. But again, I agree that it is a victory for the Palestinian people, that Israel agreed to make a deal with Hamas, and we sent a clear message. I think that we sent a clear message to Israel that if violence is the way they want to choose, then they have to bear the consequences.
Rana, it is of course a deal that actually Egypt negotiated. It wasn't exactly a face-to-face deal between Hamas and Israel. I guess Gazans have a lot to thank Egypt for, because it wasn't, as I say, it wasn't a face-to-face agreement between Hamas and Israel. I must make that clear. It was an agreement between Israel and Egypt and Hamas and Egypt.
Absolutely. This actually happened, but again, who are the main parties involved in this deal? It is Hamas and Israel, and both parties had to make a deal because obviously Hamas had things to say and had a clear message to make, again, that if Israel chooses violence, then it has to be the consequences. So I think that it is a political victory for Hamas and for the people of Gaza. But let me just also say something very quickly, is that the people of Gaza are still concerned about this ceasefire, because we don't want a ceasefire that will end a day or a year or many years later. We think that we want an everlasting ceasefire, and we think that this ceasefire will take effect only when Israel is forced into meeting its obligations under international law, which are very clear, and Israel continues to violate them. We have the UN resolutions, we have international law. So the people of Gaza think that a ceasefire will be true, and a real ceasefire will be in effect only when Israel abides by its obligations and meets the demands that are made by international law.
And from the Gaza side of the border, are you confident, Rana, that Hamas can control all the fighters on the Strip and avoid any stray rockets being sent from Gaza back into Israel while the ceasefire is in force?
Well, I think so. I mean, basically, like, if we are to track the timeline of the attack that started on the Gaza Strip the last week, I think that it started from the Israeli side, and it happens all the time. So I think that basically we're not really interested in having more people killed and having our infrastructure destroyed. Every time such an attack happens, it is always triggered by Israel. I mean, following the timeline closely can just tell us what exactly happened. Maybe Hamas will not be able to control them, but I think that the parties themselves, each party can control itself. And this is, I think, that why I think that it is significant that every party, I think, that should be committed. And if Hamas cannot control them, then I think that each party can control itself, as long as Israel is committed to the terms of the deal, and second, to not killing more Palestinians, not undertaking incursions and firing more Israeli attacks on Gaza.
OK, that's great to talk to you. That is Rana Baker. She's a resident in Gaza, speaking to us live.